We go off the field now and into the courtroom where it happens all too often, sports and the law. And to that end, we're joined by our legal expert here on Chronicle Live, talking, of course, about Steve Moskowitz. And Steve, we talked the other night about Jamarcus Russell, so we'll go on with that a little bit more. Has been indicted by a grand jury. Said today, did an interview with ESPN, said he admitted codeine, I started to say cocaine, codeine use in 2007, says he's been clean since then. Does that have any bearing on anything here?
Maybe, maybe not, because that could be part of the support for the judge saying, look, I don't believe your friend. And also there's other problems, because now the Rays are going to say, look, you lied to us, you set things up, look what you did. You held out, so you took the drug test later, you pulled one fast one overs, we want our money back. So he has a variety of problems with that one, and it's the past history here. He
is charged with possession of a controlled substance.
Yes.
What's the upside and downside of, should he be found guilty, what happens?
Then we have some problems. Was he holding it for his use, or was he holding it for sale, distribution, because it's a far more serious penalty? And once again, we'll go back to what type of plea bargain can his attorney cut? And here, he has two courts to please. One is the court of law, and the other court is public opinion. And what's that going to do to his ability to get into any football team in any league? That's one of his problems.
You know, one of the things I think you and I talked about, I don't think we talked about it on the air, but we talked about celebrities in a courtroom.
Oh, yeah.
And it could be a positive in some cases,
sure,
or it can be a real negative in some cases.
Absolutely. Sometimes they really do get special treatment because they're a celebrity. On the other hand, sometimes it'll be held against them. And I mean, Look at the judge that got in trouble when, after he decided Barry Bonds' case, he asked for Barry's autograph. I mean, come on. Yeah. And then look at other things where somebody will be punished to the maximum. So it can go either way.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened. What happened the other day is his friend walks into the courtroom, goes up to the judge, said, he didn't do it, I did it. So the judge says, okay, that's fine. We'll arrest you, and then we'll figure this whole thing out. Does that help this guy? Does that hurt this guy? Does it make him look like just another spoiled athlete?
Literally added him to the team. But what happens is, if they break the other guy and he says, look, he was coerced, he was paid, he was doing a favor, then you're entering false evidence in, and then the charges can get really serious. So that's something that Jamarcus is going to have to watch out for. If such a thing happened, I don't know.
You know, this whole thing speaks to something that we've talked about on numerous occasions, that there seems to be a different set of rules that applies to athletes. And it's not so much that that's a fact, it's more that that's what athletes like Jamarcus Russell truly believe.
You know, it's not just athletes. Look at some of the actors and celebrities and business people. In theory, the law applies to everyone equally. But in reality, like most other things, an athlete, a movie star, usually is treated better. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. Look at the other end of it, the stalkers.
You know, what happens now with Jamarcus Russell? Whether he's found guilty, whether he's not found guilty, what happens to this guy?
The lawyer does his real work. It's the backroom deal. It's always the backroom deal. Talking to the prosecution, you don't have a case. What can we plea bargain it down to? Can we drop it? What type of deal? What type of deal? That's so, so important, because usually a trial is only when you can't work out a deal. And for every one trial you see an awful lot of backroom deals. That's the first one. And then, like we do, when we do a case and we say, okay, there's two elements. There's a criminal case we do, and we know there's a civil case. Whatever you're doing in that criminal case, you know the Football League's going to be looking at that, and then when he tries to play somewhere, wait a minute, what did he say in that criminal? That's why it's so important. We have to balance that. We do it all the time. Balance the criminal defense with what's going to happen in the civil, and that's exactly what's happened with Jamarcus here right now.
You know, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but
Good.
My feeling about this, I'll let you speak for yourself on
Thank
this,
you.
but as you will.
You know, we're attorneys.
You know, for me, Jamarcus Russell, what he's guilty most of is stupidity. I mean, how can this guy go and do this? And for not only him, I mean, you see it day in and day out.
On that one, do you know how many times in my office a very intelligent person will come in and say, Steve, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know how I did this, and then they confess. I see that every day. The most recent example I had at my office was today, when somebody came in and confessed to something. They said, I don't know how it was so stupid. You know what? That's human. That's real life. It happens, and we deal with it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I got your number in my iPhone.
Thanks.
The next time I get into the purple drink, you'll be the first person I call.
If you're falsely accused, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. My friend's going to come in and say he did it. I already have that planned.
If he, well, be careful of that. If he really did.
Steve, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure,
Thanks.
and you always clear things up as you have this time again. When we come back, we're really going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about MMA. Big fight.